Now that we are familiar with what a section element is, let's talk about another section in content, which is the article element. So we know that the article element is an element that we can use for specifying independent self-contained content. So it has to make sense on its own, and it should be possible to distribute it independently from the rest of the site. Usually the article element here, okay, so let's include it inside of our section, or no, let's go and put it inside of our section My Original Stories, because I would want to have at least 3 articles here. So when we say article element, this can be commonly used for a forum post, blog post, or even news stories. It doesn't render anything special on the browser, but we can use CSS to give styling to the article element. So if we try to go and look at our document here and check our code editor or developer tools, actually the developer tools here will show us that if we go to the article element here, where's that? Okay, let's refresh. Okay, so we have article element, and we go to the layout, and it shows us that the default value of an article element is a block content. And so one key note about the article element is that we can insert a section element inside of an article, similar to us using an article and nesting an article inside of a section element. If we try to compare this with a book, this will be you using the article element and then you dividing it into sections in that book that you're writing. So we have an article and we have certain sections inside of the book that we're writing. So articles can contain sections of related information. So that means articles can be nested inside of a section. So we have here a parent element, which is a section. And the article can be the parent element of a section. So the section element that we have here can be nested inside of the article element. So it can be a descendant of the article element. One key thing to remember is that the article element cannot be a descendant of the address element. So remember, this is just one note to take note of. So that means it cannot be nested inside of an address element. So other key things to remember is that the article element can have other semantic elements such as headers, as we can see here. We can include a header here, h2 here, title, let's say title of story. So this is often useful if you want to add CSS selectors to the class property of the element to style the document, because again, the article element can be targeted as a reference for styling using CSS. We can actually put here a header if we want to, and put the h2 inside of the header element, and then we can also have a footer inside of this article element. So just keep note of that. Some of the other usage of an article element will be, it should be identified by using a heading content. As I've shown you here, there should be a heading content inside of it. Let me just put a note here. It should be identified using heading content from h1 to h6, as to what we've done here. We have an h2 here. Some other keynotes that you have to know will be that when an article element is nested, the inner element represents an article related to the outer element. Let's say, for example, we have a comment of a blog post. So we can have an article element nested in the article representing the blog post. So I'm hoping you're getting the idea on how to use an article element here. Let me just go and remove this. We can actually just use the H2 element here, and then also remove this here. One keynote that you can also take note of, when we say self-contained content, when we say the article element is a self-contained content, this just means that if you remove all other HTML element except the article element, the content will still make sense to a reader. So what do I mean? Let's say in this article, we have here H2, title of story 3, right? Let's say we have 3 stories or 3 articles that we've written here, and we have a P paragraph inside here. Let's say, so we have a P paragraph here. So what we can do here, if we try to remove this, the H2 here and the P element here will still be making sense to the reader that this is an H2. The content here is an H2. And the content here is a paragraph. This is a paragraph. Okay, so technically, if you remove the article element, the other elements will still have sense to the browser or the HTML processor.